Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company coming to you from our flagship New York City location. Today, we meet a collector who is a man of the world. He's worked in the diplomatic corps, he's been around the world, he speaks many languages. He is an adventurer, hiking, climbing, everything in between, often with a watch, and a multi-generational watch collector on top of it all. Adam, welcome and thank you.
Thanks for having me, Tim. Really appreciate it.
This is going to be really cool because your watch collection, it includes the first watch and early watches, but it also includes watches dating back to your deepest ancestry in the old world and from both sides of the family, no less. So take me back to the oldest watch in the collection. Let's start there and talk about what it means to you.
Absolutely. So we'll start with this pocket watch. It's an IWC, which I actually just had refurbished. So this was my great-grandfather's brother's watch. And he has several pieces of art and watches as well that are currently in a museum in Switzerland. But we have one piece here, and there's also from the same family. This is another one. So one is from my great-great-grandfather, and one is my great-grandfather's brother. But this one is the oldest. The IWC is quite interesting. It's one thing that's great is it looked actually quite awful even just a week ago because it had never been serviced. I took it to a former FP Journe watchmaker in Miami, which is home, and he did a tremendous job. He had to re-blue the hands. He really, took it all apart very lovingly with a lot of care. It's got an enamel dial. He told me I didn't actually realize that, sadly enough, until he brought it back to me. This is obviously a very important treasure in my collection because of it's the oldest in my collection, and of course it's a family heirloom that will endure for hopefully many, many generations down the line.
Now what's interesting here is that it's probably the most modest watch from this collection. Tell me a little bit more about the family connection here and what other watches were involved, because it was a much bigger picture.
Right, exactly. So this is my great-great-grandfather, and this is my great-grandfather's brother, and so they're both Polish. This is from my mother's side of the family, who's Polish, and he basically lived in Switzerland and worked in Switzerland, but his collection is in this now museum in Switzerland. But fortunately, one of the remaining pieces that actually remained in the family is this one here. So as you said, it's unassuming, but it's still, Certina is nothing to scoff at. It's still a wonderful Swiss piece. It's very thin, it's small and elegant, and of course, most importantly, it's a piece of our family heritage.
Now what's interesting here is that you were offered a restoration on the dial. There is some weathering at the base of the dial near the small seconds, and you declined.
Yes, he offered to replace the dial because he actually had an IWC dial from a similar time that fit. But I told him that there's no way. It's just, again, it's the original dial. It's part of my family history. I certainly didn't want to swap that out. So. And he understood, obviously, and so it's got some wear and tear to it, but it's part of the family line.
Yeah, its journey with your family continues, and I guess also worth mentioning, an absolutely antiseptic movement on this. This was a loved watch. Whoever cared for this through the generations took really good care of it, and the movement is as clean as they come and beautifully intact. No evidence of bad watchmaking, no fingerprints or grime, just an incredibly well-kept movement, showing real pride in the ownership of this watch through the years. Beautiful piece. So now we've got another pocket watch. It's a little bit different. This one actually has a chain, which sets it apart, but so does the ornate hunter-style case. Tell me a little bit about this watch right here.
Sure. So this one, this is a Russian pocket watch. It's got the coat of arms there. You can see some Cyrillic script. And on the case back, you've got George slaying the dragon, which is a nice little allegorical kind of relief. Interesting piece. I honestly don't know the total history of this watch. I know I got it when I was very young. I started collecting since I can remember, and I was always kind of the kid in the family who carried on the affliction from my on my father's side, my grandfather, my father to me. And this was just something I picked up when I was very young. And I guess it's also the Russian side. My father's side of the family is Russian and German, so this kind of ties in with the Russian side of the family. But interesting watch, but unfortunately I don't know the full history of it.
That's good, because that's a journey yet to come. It's got that very cool heraldic eagle, and the original lacquering still present. It's a really beautiful watch and a lot of fun, a little bit mysterious. And again, on the chain, an interesting proposition. Do you ever carry a pocket watch?
You know, it's interesting you ask that. I don't, but I think I should. I've got to think about a more contemporary, modern way of maybe carrying it around, and maybe a jacket that I haven't quite thought it through, but it will happen.
Okay.
I'll come up with a method.
Well, very, very
to make it cool.
And I think just doing it is cool enough. Like, I don't think you need to do anything to make a pocket watch neat. I went to Dubai Watch Week a few years ago, back in 2021, and the watch that was most interesting to all the creators there, because they had the indies there, they were all blown away by my $400 Illinois Bun pocket watch, and it was probably worth less than some of the straps at the show, but it was so novel and neat and awesome to see a pocket watch resurface. There's no wrong way to carry it. You do it with a band and have fun.
Maybe it'll become more common. It would be cool to bring back the style.
You got to have a jacket. That's the thing. The rise of the pocket watch corresponded to the rise of the petticoat once upon a time. And it's like these days people just don't have enough pockets, or if they do, they're all in their pants, which doesn't quite work.
Right.
So through the years, your family moved from pocket watches to wrist watches. And now I guess this is a really good time to talk about some of the pieces that are on this side of the table. Let's speak about three in particular. So tell me a little bit about this beautiful Eterna-Matic Contiki.
For sure. So this was my grandfather's side, my paternal grandfather. This was his watch. This is a neat watch because it's from around the 50s. It's an explorer's watch. Obviously, it's gold. It's a little bit more of, let's say, an elevated explorer's watch. But around the time when Rolex came out with the Explorer to commemorate the first successful ascent of Everest, then at a similar time, there was a guy by the name of Thor Heyerdahl who sailed on this raft called the Kontiki. So this is called the Kontiki to commemorate that particular expedition by sea. And but this was given by my grandfather to my father. It passed on to him, and then my father gave it to me. And it's just something I've cherished for many years, and I love it. It's just a beautiful, aesthetically, and obviously the family connection. You know, I'm the third generation now to enjoy the watch. But I also didn't want to wear it too much because I don't want to wear it down, and I want to keep it intact. So I bought another version of the same watch, exactly, in steel, in order to be able to enjoy it. It's a no-date version. I can wear it when I travel. It's not as easily identifiable as, let's say, a Rolex or an AP or something, so I don't feel like I'm a target. But at the same time I can enjoy a nice vintage piece, beautiful Gay Frere bracelet, and it has that Explorer type of vibe. But and of course, the history of Eterna is interesting in and of itself in the realm of watchmaking. Now, you know, it's the genesis of what is today ETA, right?
Yes.
Of course, the five ball, exactly. So it's nice family history, and then ties into the whole watchmaking history as well.
I can really appreciate that. These are both incredible dials, by the way. The combination of the hands, the quarters, the Arabic numerals, the indices that are baton and triangular. It's just a really exuberant dial and really cool. And then, of course, you know, the lug quality you have here, it almost has a little bit of the Patek Philippe flame lug type sculpting. It's just a really interesting watch. So do you understand this as a watch your grandfather bought for himself?
Correct. So he bought it for himself. He wore it for many years. Then he gave it to my dad at some point because I guess he was wearing something else. My dad enjoyed it for many years. Then he gave it to me when I was I think it was end of high school, and I've been enjoying it since as well. So it's fantastic to just carry on we all three generations enjoyed wearing it for many years.
Very, very cool. And then the story of your grandpa continues. By the way, this watch with beads of rice and folded link Gay Frere bracelet marked third quarter 1967. This is as cool as it gets. That is a really, really neat watch. This is a neat watch too, because I can relate. I found myself in the same situation as you. How did this watch come to be yours?
So this was also my grandfather's on my father's side. So he worked effectively for the same company his whole life. He started off as a junior sales rep at a pharmaceutical company. And then he retired as the president of that same company. And when he retired, this was his retirement watch that the company gifted him. So on the back, it's got his, it's engraved with his initials and his tenure. And so he gave it to me, my grandfather gave it to me as sort of, something that knowing that I'm kind of a watch aficionado in the family, and that's something that I would really cherish as something of his. And obviously, I think a watch makes for a fantastic family heirloom, and I wear it with pride, and I remember him when I do so.
And I had the same experience because my grandfather's watch, this one's a Girard-Perregaux. My grandpa's retirement watch was an Omega, but this is 10 karat gold filled. My grandpa's watch was 10 karat gold filled. Both automatic, traditional size, more of a dress style. And then on the back, both commemorated with the name, where they worked and how long they worked there. And this just, it feels like a common experience between us that we can both relate to our grandfathers on that level.
Absolutely.
Now this one's a little bit less common because I rarely hear about collectors inheriting mechanical watches through their mom's side, but that's exactly what happened here. Right. Tell me about this lovely little Longines.
Yeah, so my mom, there were some pieces that were handed down through her on her side, and this is an interesting little TV case. I think that's what you refer to it as. Manual wind, Longines, unassuming but thin. I paired it with this suede corduroy strap. I thought it was, added a little bit of a contemporary flair, but still within the sort of vintage vibe. And again, it's nice to have a watch with a slightly different aesthetic that again is part of the family, and that will will live on through the generations.
Now you do have a proclivity for vintage in your own right, and you have added some vintage watches. But before we jump into those, let's talk about your oldest watch.
Sure. That
joined the family during your lifetime.
So this is, I think, my very first watch. I'm pretty sure my grandmother on my dad's side actually gifted it to me, and it's a Swatch. I think I was couldn't have been older than 5 or 6. It's clearly a little bit beat up, but figured it's broken a little.
You got the pieces,
exactly.
So it's there, it's intact.
And so it brings back some memories. I mean, this is when I first caught that bug. When she gifted it to me, it's the concept of keeping time really, resonated with me, and to this day it continues to do so. But this was kind of this is the origin story, so to speak.
Was this early 90s, late 80s?
Something around there, yeah.
The neon graphics here and the skateboard references feel like very early 90s.
Exactly.
That is profoundly cool. So talk to me a little bit about some of your other passions, because before we get any deeper into this, I want to talk about some of your adventures. We talked about family and the intergenerational collecting, but you're a mountain climber, you're a hiker. Tell me about some of these peaks and some of these places you've been, because you were a diplomat, but you also traveled around the world as an adventurer. Yes,
so my hobby, my passion outside of work, which now I've since left the diplomatic field and work in finance and real estate development, but the mountains are really my passion. And so skiing, I grew up skiing. My father was a ski patrol in the Canadian Rockies in Banff. And then my mom, she used to race in Poland. So I kind of grew up learning how to ski as I learned to walk. But then I got to a point where I wanted to pick up some more technical skills so I can expand my, repertoire of lines that I could access to ski. And then I delved into mountaineering. I grew up hiking as well, but so I always had a love for the mountains, but then it got a little bit more, more serious. So I took a course in the Cascades, climbing Mount Baker and Mount Rainier, picking up a bunch of skills, crevasse rescue, and just learning how to use crampons and ice axes. And since then, I've been traveling the world and doing a lot of technical rock climbing, high altitude mountaineering, ski mountaineering, and I've taken, a watch along the way on many of these trips.
Let's talk about one that probably embodies all of this better than the others. Now I realize this is what a modern day explorer wears. Tell me about the places you've been with this G-Shock, but also just tell me, how did this come to be part of the collection? Now let's go into its daring do.
Sure. So I picked this up, I think it was sometime in high school, and I just thought, it's robust. I could take it anywhere, could do anything with it, and maybe I feel a little bit less invincible now than I did at that age, but nonetheless, it felt like something that could keep up with my adventures. And so some fond memories of this were living in the jungles of Ecuador for a period of time. I was studying ecology for a few weeks there. Took it scuba diving in the Galapagos Islands. It's been on several mountains, volcanoes in South America. So definitely some fond memories with this guy. And
Volcanoes, were they active?
Well, I guess fortunately or unfortunately, no. You could see both sides of that coin, but no, there was no eruptions, no lava to be seen on those particular climbs.
But it's really cool to see G-Shock that you got in high school. Now you've been through several careers as an adult. Just to remind people that just because G-Shock is electronic doesn't mean it's disposable. I still have my G-Shock from 1998 when I was in high school, and although it's ugly, it still works. This one's in a lot better shape than mine. It's amazing what the Navy and cycling will do to a watch, but yours is held up really nicely. A G-Shock really can be a for-life watch.
Absolutely.
So now, sort of moving around a little bit within the scope of what could be considered an adventurer's watch, you felt the need, I think, to own the original adventurer's watch, or one of them. So tell me a little bit about your Rolex Explorer, traditionally sized. Was that a choice, or was it just a matter of consequences?
Very much a choice, a conscious choice. So when Rolex re-released the 36 millimeter Explorer, I don't know, something like 5 or some odd years ago now, I knew I had to have it. So I reached out to my AD and actually shared some of my, sent them my YouTube channel link and basically showed him some of my raw GoPro footage. Said, listen, I'm going to take this watch to where it's meant to be worn. And fortunately, he gave me a ring, several weeks later, and I delved in, picked it up, and it's been around the world with me. It's been on probably no fewer than 15 significant peaks around the world, whether it was rock climbing the full Exum Ridge of the Grand Teton, or the East Buttress of Mount Whitney, or probably most memorably though, this accompanied me on my first ever solo expedition. I went and climbed a couple of years ago. I climbed Aconcagua, which is the highest mountain in the world outside of Asia. And that was a big deal for me because I was, it's not a very technical climb, but it's high altitude. It was the highest I'd ever been. And it was a solo expedition, which I'd never done before, so I had to be self-sufficient. And this was a nice little companion on the trip.
The stakes are a lot higher when you're going solo. It's a very dangerous hobby, mountaineering, and before it was a hobby, it was sort of, I guess you could say, it was sort of like a passion, a pursuit, a challenge. The fact that consecutive decades we summited Everest and landed on the moon should give some sense of how difficult it is to summit Everest. So you've built some incredible memories around this watch, and that's why it's always important to make a watch your own, because we don't have to fight over whether or not, Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary wore a Rolex Explorer to the top of Mount Everest, because this has verifiably been to all the places you've been.
Correct, and hopefully we'll continue to get some good mileage in the mountains. It's got a few little scuffs here and there, but
we like that.
It's what it's meant to be.
So really cool. This is like sort of the hardware that you take with you. You were mentioning to me like one way you prep for altitude, and I was surprised because I'd only ever heard about athletes doing this, but explain this to me, how this works for altitude.
Sure, yeah, so both to minimize my time away from work and also to maximize my ability to reach the summit of the peaks that these objectives. I sleep in a hypobaric chamber at home, and so that equips me with the ability to do a direct ascent in shortened time frame, and it's actually a good ROI too, because the cost of buying the machine has already paid, been repaid in the number of days of work that I haven't had to miss. So it's a really great, useful tool.
Do you have any kind of expeditions planned in the future to like K2 or Mount Everest?
So K2 I haven't considered yet. We'll see, but K2 is a very, very serious mountain. It's the second highest in the world, but it's definitely a more technical endeavor. I'd love to climb Everest. Yes, I mean it is the highest mountain in the world. It's unfortunate that there's these lines on the mountain. It certainly isn't the way I would like to experience the mountain, but it is.
It's become like the Orlando of peaks.
Yes, but I would be lying if I said it wasn't on my list. It would be great to take a special watch up there, and it's also an expensive endeavor. So that's I'll definitely be actively seeking out some kind of sponsorship opportunities, but it is on the list.
Your watch could be on his wrist for that ascent. What is your YouTube channel so people can find you if they're interested?
Sure, it's just my name. It's Adam Romanov. So
Very cool.
It's pretty easy.
So, if you are Rolex and you would like to get that watch onto the peak on this wrist, that's how you hook up. So, really cool facts about your collection. You have a few really fascinating plastic watches in this collection. So we've seen your first watch. Now we've got your first serious watch that you bought yourself. It looks like plastic, but it's plastic sheath. Tell me about this TechnoMarine.
Sure. So this is nice. This also ties into family a bit too. So my dad and I, we both bought matching watches, the exact same watch, but different colorways. What I loved about it, and I guess what he liked about it, was the fact that it's also a watch we could take anywhere, to the beach, hiking, cycling, what have you. It's also currently, sadly enough, my only chronograph. But this is it's a fun watch that, the color is just fun, funky. It's well executed. It is a quartz movement, but it's a high quality Japanese quartz movement, and it's accompanied me on many a little adventure. It's fun to also know that my dad's got the same watch, but just in a slightly different colorway. So that pairing is fun. And then this one, this is a fun story. When I was working in government, I worked at the G8 Summit in Italy, and all the dignitaries, or many of the dignitaries who attended, received this as a gift from the Italian government. It's just a fun little memento. Obviously, it being a watch resonates with me, and reminds me of that fun little delegation that jaunt over to Italy.
And it's nice because when you're in the diplomatic corps, you can't accept expensive gifts. So this is like bumping right up against the threshold of what's possible. So you get to keep something that's fun and bespoke and customized, and even mentions the event, the location, and the year on the dial. So, there's a lot of collectible Swatch watches out there, but this is the real deal. You were either there or you didn't get one.
Right. Actually, it's funny. I think Obama got one too. He was U.S. president at the time, and I think he's got it. It's in the archives somewhere. I don't think he didn't keep it. He left it in some, whatever the museum is, that former heads of state.
Yeah,
keep it.
Well, he's already got a Cellini, so I guess he felt like he was already set up. Hey, if you're out there and you want to do a collector conversation, I'm all for that. That would be a big shoot. I'd go to you. So what's happening on here with regards to your continued interest in blue dials? Because this is something that is pervasive and extends through different eras if you're collecting. So let's start with your Breitling Colt and then work our way forward.
Yeah, so this is the watch I've worn the longest in my life. It's a watch that...
When did you buy this?
So my parents gifted it to me either when I turned 16 or 18, and now it escapes me which year it was, but it was... This was my first real watch, my first mechanical Swiss watch. And what I love about it is that I prefer a more compact case, a relatively like a smaller watch. So it's a 38 mil. It's 500 meters water resistant. It's very capable. Vieta caliber. It's equipped with its chronometer. It actually keeps incredible time to this day, better than most of my other pieces. And so this has actually accompanied me. There was a big, very meaningful mountain climb that I did to the summit of the Matterhorn, and this was on my wrist for that, and it was a special time because it was actually the Matterhorn's definitely a Swiss national icon,
and a very dangerous climb, to be fair.
It certainly was. It was objectively hazardous at times, and it was a 16-hour day nonstop, and I think to this day those 16 hours were the longest stretch of time where I was very, very, very focused, completely uninterrupted. But it was an incredible experience. We went up, so it was on the Swiss national holiday as well. It was on August 1st, so it was really neat to climb a Swiss national icon on the Swiss national holiday. And my guide and I, we were actually the only two to summit that day because there was a thunderstorm. And what we did is we went up the Swiss ridge called Hornley Ridge. And while we were on the summit, the thunderstorm, we could hear it below us. And we went down, we did a traverse of the mountain. We went down Lion Ridge, which is the Swiss side of the mountain, as the thunderstorm passed below us the opposite direction. It was a pretty wild experience.
So you hiked up and over a thunderstorm.
Pretty well, yes.
That's awesome. So this watch was there for all of that. And our watches, they all start the same out of the box. This is, a A17350. So it's steel, it's got a 2824, it's a chronometer. They were all born the same, but they become ours through these experiences, and they all become something different. A very cool watch on a lot of levels.
And that's my dive watch too. Whenever I go scuba diving, this is typically my companion.
And you were talking to me earlier about how you like the combination of a smaller case size and the 500 meters. It's a rare combination today.
Exactly, I agree. And I mean, sometimes I tell my watch friends, I think, watch manufacturers have gotten lazy, but whatever it may be, whatever you chalk it up to, I think I like it. It's great. It shows, you can really deliver a lot in a small package. And, Breitling demonstrates that it's possible. And to this day, it keeps amazing time. It's very robust. It'll go wherever I take it.
That is very cool. Now, your interest in blue dials, it extends into some of your more contemporary watches. And I guess this is interesting because a lot of the different threads of your collecting come together. Smaller cases, blue dials, an interest in Rolex and Rolex history. But tell me about your Datejust, because it's a really neat chevron dial.
Yes, I've always been drawn to this classic aesthetic, and obviously, the Datejust is a very classic watch. It's a design that will endure. First of all, the blue, yes, I'm very drawn to blue dials, but that motif, that sort of chevron or maybe you can call it like a fluted motif. It's within it harkens back to Rolex history with that fluted dial and bezel. And then the blue just really pops, and it looks a little bit darker in lower light. It really brightens up in sunlight, so just was really drawn to it. It's a little bit flashy, admittedly, relative to sort of my other more slightly sober watches, but it's a fun daily driver.
Yeah, you're in Miami now. You're based out of South Florida. This is not flashy. I'm sorry.
True enough.
This is maybe flashy by New York, London, Toronto standards, but a very cool watch. And one of your few, I would say, all-arounders. You tend to alternate between watches that can be described as dress watches and watches that are pretty robustly sporty. So let's talk a little bit about another watch that sort of blends both, because the Yacht-Master is a fascinating choice for someone who is an adventurer. I would have thought maybe you more graduate towards a submariner or gravitate towards a sea dweller. What was this about the dark rhodium platinum steel Yacht-Master that got you?
Great question. So first of all, as much of a Rolex fanboy as I may be, the GMT and the sub with those slab-sided cases, they feel a little bit heavy to me.
Okay,
and so I really like the svelte case of the Yacht-Master. It's a 40 mil, which is kind of the larger end of my collection, but it wears well on the wrist. It's sporty. It's still got the triplock crown. So I mean, yes, they qualify it as 100 meters, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit more robust than that. I really do like that it's got that refinement of the platinum bezel. Most people wouldn't know that it's platinum. I like that it's a little bit understated, but it's got that precious metal, but without screaming at you. And then, of course, the blue, as you can see, blue is kind of my color, and so that was a detail that certainly caught my eye. But what I love about this also is that it is still robust. Like whenever I go on, let's say, a beach vacation, or if I'm snorkeling, like if I'm not bringing my Breitling for, let's say, scuba diving or something more intense, I'll just wear that, and it can take a lot. It can take a beating. It can it's a great travel watch. And again, that svelte case, similar to the Daytona case, really appeals to me.
And that's a really good point, because a lot of people say, well, back a few years ago, you had a 40 millimeter GMT, 40 millimeter sub, 40 millimeter Yacht-Master, and they've all got rotating bezels. They must all be the same. Well, no, the sub case and the GMT case are very similar. A Yacht-Master case is closer in profile in the way it's actually sculpted to something like a Daytona. So it does look and wear a little bit more compact and with more grace, I think. So much like a Daytona, if you ever wanted a rotating bezel Daytona. So we're going to shift gears a little bit just because at this point I'm fascinated by the outlier. All of this makes some sense. Adventurer, blue dials, versatile collection, family heirlooms. How on earth did you wind up with a Swiss-Dutch limited run time-only hybrid in your collection?
Well, I would argue that it's not entirely out of the realm. It's a slightly smaller case, which I really like, and those hints of blue really do follow in that blue theme. Granted, I think it's very well complemented with in the contrast of the color of that salmon inlay, but it was really the aesthetics that called out to me, and the fact that it's a nice. It's the fact that it's limited. It's the first. New sort of more approachable sub-brand of the Gronefeld brothers. I do not, as of yet, own a Gronefeld watch, but this was a great way for me to delve in and my first foray into their pieces and their design aesthetic, which I think is quite beautiful.
I'm curious because they've closed their order book, and I don't know that these ship to dealers, but what was the purchase process like for getting one of these back in 2024?
It was going online, making sure I'm refreshing the page, and just making sure that I hit that buy button as fast as I could to make sure I could snatch one up.
Oh, it's like sneakerheads with the Air Jordan drops.
I guess so.
Refresh, buy.
That's exactly right.
And it is a beautiful watch. I mean, you've got this wonderful pattern on a nubuck-like textured strap. It's very subtle, the gray, the different shades of blue and slate. You've got the Principia-like case design, multi-planar dial, different textures, tones, and colors. And even that little blue track outboard for the seconds and the minutes. The details are great.
So I did actually swap out the strap. It didn't come on this, but I'm a big fan of suede. I love the blue camo, and I thought it added a nice dimension to the watch. It brought out the blues. So yes, I definitely have fun with my straps.
I think you outdid the brothers with this strap. This is just beautiful. And I saw Bart's one and Tim's one a few weeks ago, and they're really nice, but I think the first one was the best. So moving on from that, let's talk a little bit about two vintage pieces you added. And, I can tell you've got a taste for sort of mid-century modern when it comes to these watches. We could talk straps, but let's start with the watches themselves.
Sure, absolutely. So the vintage Rolex I picked up actually at the Miami Antique Show, where that was fun. It was my first time going, and when this caught my eye at one of the vintage dealers' booths, I couldn't say no. It's got the 369. Which harkens back to the Rolex Explorer aesthetic. One thing that I love about it, it's got the little blue seconds hand, which again ticks the blue box for me. And then the dial, the textured dial, whether you call it a linen dial, honeycomb, or what have you. But then the one last element that I really think is quite neat that sets it apart is the Bombay lugs.
Yes.
So it's got several of these different elements that just all came together and just couldn't say no.
I mean, it's a very lovely watch. It's got this lovely brevet crown on it. It's got a unique case profile because, frankly, when you look at Rolex watches from this time frame, you accept and you expect to see perforations in the lugs. So this is just maybe a little bit more upscale and aesthetic for the period. The honeycomb dial, and frankly, a dial design that was not luminescent from the outset. It's just a very different kind of Rolex sports watch from the middle of the 20th century. And tell me about this Moser. I think we were saying 40s or 50s, but just a beautiful throwback watch.
Right. It's got those blued hands. So again, the blue element, and I did throw it on a tweed strap that I thought really brings out that blue even more.
Where did you find this? Where did it come from?
This was an eBay purchase. It was a late night. I do that sometimes. Just call it. You're staying up late, just looking at watches, reading forums, what have you. And when I saw this, it just spoke to me. It's got a really nice patina. The hands are very, very much intact. I felt I wanted to add a Moser to my collection, and I started researching the history of Moser, and figured why not reach into their past, and this was the result. And I had a lot of fun pairing it with a different strap, which I enjoy doing. Generally speaking, it's amazing how swapping out a strap can change the the feel, the the aesthetic of a watch pretty dramatically.
And it's really great that it has these wonderfully intact syringe hands with a nice patina fade, and that it hasn't been reloomed to death, you know what I mean? Sometimes it looks like people are relooming these things with finger paints. This is an absolutely clean dial, and I really like that. A great strap. Strap really makes the watch sometimes, and the modern aesthetic with the vintage watch is super cool. Plus, I got to admit, this is the only time I have ever seen a true vintage Moser on one of these features, so this is a real throwback and a special piece. Would be hard to find a second one like it. All right, now we're going to talk about going to the high end and high horology, starting out with a watch that fits the rhyme scheme so far. We'll get a little bit off the mainstream path, but Audemars Piguet, first of all, the size, second of all, the dial. Tell me about how you were drawn to this.
So I've always, since I was a kid, I really loved the design, the aesthetic of the Royal Oak. Nothing new, I'm sure. I'm far from the only one to be drawn to this design, but the size is 37 mil, which I think is perfect. As we know, with an integrated bracelet, they tend to flare out, but this just fits perfectly. Unfortunately, I can't do everything with it because it's not, the water resistance prohibits me from really putting it through its paces. But at the same time, maybe it's a good thing because that way I can use some of my other watches for the purpose. But I've definitely go skiing with it, and other things where I know it's not going to go hit the water.
I won't tell Audemars Piguet if it has.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece. I love it. I'm really grateful to my authorized dealer for actually kickstarting my relationship with AP with this piece. Which I'd been chasing it for years, and I'd moved around the world to different cities, and so I felt like I'm always trying to restart a relationship. But I met one authorized dealer who was who understood my chase.
You can give him a shout out if you want.
Yeah, so Darren, thank you. I really appreciate it. This piece has been around the world with me as well, and I really cherish it. Actually, I'm grateful to a few of the authorized dealers who've really helped me out with along the way. My Rolex dealer Chris here in New York, he's grateful to him as well, and of course we'll move on to Journe, but the relationship with Journe in Miami is a meaningful one as well.
Now, a couple of people told me about how great that Miami location is, how great the bar is, how great the community around it is. Let's talk about the journey towards buying the watch, that experience, and a little bit about the scene that surrounds it. So, of course, you've got a Havana dial, rose gold, beautifully strapped Chronometre Souverain, unbelievable watch. How did this happen? Was it a spur of the moment, or did you have this planned long term?
I've been drawn to Journe for several years. It wasn't a watch for a while that I really looked at as being particularly attainable until, so I moved to Miami about 3.5 years ago after a decade living here in Manhattan, and I figured I'd double down on my hobbies. So I was kind of my life was kind of in a reset post-COVID, career-wise, personally, professionally, and so I walked into the FP Journe boutique in Miami. I was very kind, well received, chatted about my watch journey, and figured I'd maybe put my name down for a piece. And I think it was 2.5 years of a wait. But during that 2.5 year wait for this piece, I felt like I really became part of a community. I met a lot of, having newly moved, to Miami.
In and among the watch collectors of Miami.
Correct, right. So one way for me to meet new people was through my hobbies, cars, watches, and the bar at FP Journe became a place for my local watering hole, so to speak, where I could chat things I knew, enjoyed, watches among other things, find like-minded collectors. I credit the Journe boutique with helping me build sort of a sense of camaraderie and almost a sense of home now in Miami, having moved there, not really knowing anybody. And it's a nice community, it's a great community. And so this watch kind of epitomizes both my ability to get back on my feet and build a business in Miami and make it home.
And that's a very cool story because I think that's where you really find satisfaction with watches. You take a watch and over time you build memories around it. And I often say that an experience is worth more than a purchase. I think you can take a purchase to the level of an experience by building those memories and
100%.
those relationships. Now this is fun because it's a little bit of a throwback. We talked about family and the different generations of watch enthusiasts in your family. Talk about where this came from, where it's been, and where it's going.
So just a few days ago, I spent several days in the Swiss, French, and Italian Alps between Zermatt, Switzerland, Chamonix, and France, and the Aosta Valley in Italy. And so I spoke with my authorized dealer, Journe. His name is Andrew. Shout out Andrew. And I mentioned to him that my father's turning 70 soon, and it's thanks to him that I have this proclivity for watches, and that this affliction has been handed down. So I wanted to gift my dad for this big big celebration, something important. But I wanted to put some patina on it first, build up some memories. So I picked up the watch about a month ago, and then I took it with me on my travels to the European Alps. I climbed and skied 6 peaks over 8 days, 4 of which were over 4,000 meter peaks. Did some mixed climbing, some ice climbing, obviously skied all those mountains, which was fantastic. Took it to the summit of Europe, and then actually tomorrow I'll be gifting it to my father for his 70th. And obviously by the time this airs, he'll have already received it, but nobody knows. It's a big surprise. And it'll be his first Journe, so really excited to give it to him tomorrow.
Happy birthday, Pa. God bless. Fantastic story and a great capstone to an incredible story. From the beginning, several generations ago in Europe, to, well, I guess it comes full circle, right? This watch has been to Europe, it's been on 6 peaks. And now to the United States. It's like the whole story of your family wrapped up into one reference. Adam, thank you so much.
Tim, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.